Hello, everyone. Kenneth Ship here again, still the executive director for Ujima Blues Foundation. I'm excited to continue to do these interviews with our instructors and staff for BluesGeek 2020. I'm excited to be here with someone that I've grown up dancing with for five or more years. Like it's been a bit, and they've definitely been with our team in Nashville when we were doing Mo Better Blues 2017 and the first Geek, and ever since then. And also like getting to nerd out with them on everything under the sun, even getting to write together for Nerd Union. I'm joined here by BluesGeek 2020 instructor Sarah Lokay. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Kenny. How's it going?
Pretty good. You doing good? All right.
Yeah. So for everyone else, Sarah Lokay, Chicago, Illinois. I use they them pronouns, and as Kenny said, I'm an instructor for BluesGeek 2020. I'm here to introduce myself and talk a little bit about Geek and a little bit about personal authenticity.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. It's an important mouthful, but yeah, it's
personal authenticity.
Okay. So we end up asking everyone how they got into dancing, but we're gonna get to that. I'm gonna at least mix it up a little bit, so everyone's not like, I know exactly what's coming next. Yeah, well, we're gonna mess with it a little bit. What have you read, watched, or listened to recently that you really enjoyed or were affected by?
So if you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend Kipo and Age of the Wonder Beasts. It's on Netflix. Is an animated series that a friend of mine actually interned on, which is how I found out about it. Nice. But is essentially sort of post-apocalypse meets Adventure Time vibes. The art is really delightful, and the soundtrack is fucking killer. Like, I read a post today, like putting like the art and the soundtrack and stuff. But if you liked Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack wise, you'll really like Kipo. It's same energy.
Okay.
So that's been really inspiring lately, and has also been a really fun playlist to work to in general. So.
Yeah. How long's it been on Netflix? I think it's been on for a little bit, or
about a month.
Oh, so fairly new.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So this, I am curious what you'll pick here. What's your favorite thing to do that's not dance related?
I have to pick one.
So you could feel, for you, to be fair, we could start with one, and if you want to talk about another, that's fine. So, because not that you have to rank them, but feel free to start with one, and then if you want to talk about another.
Yeah. Well, I think the obvious one is art. My major was animation back when I was in college, many moon ago. But the one thing that's kind of stuck with me is the illustration piece. I just love drawing. I love visual illustration, visual art, especially because I play D&D and because I play video games and I write. There's all the other things that I do outside of dance. It's been a really great way to express my passion for those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely that one. I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
I think half the blues scene at this point is, it's like we're slowly but surely getting them. And personally, I wish I could get some people into Star Wars RPG, but it's probably asking for too much. But
See, if you come up to Chicago and do that with Ross, he'll be defo in.
Of course he would.
But yeah, when I'm not doing that, video games, you mentioned Nerd Union. I was writing for y'all for a while. I'm in the middle of Breath of the Wild at the moment and have completely fallen down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, because you can be there for a while.
Yeah. I keep going back.
I still have.
There you go. That seems to be the running theme, is like you keep going back in to like finish the game or do the story, and you're like, nope, I'm over here now, and we're over here doing this. There's just so much that you can just kind of keep going.
Yeah. What was the running joke for Fallout 4? Where like the kid that you lose in the shelter, they're like, "What? I completely forgot about that story." It's like, I forgot. Wait, what? That's really it? Oh yeah, yeah. That is how we started this whole thing. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah. Elsewise, I spent a lot of time on the internet. A lot of time viewing memes, not quite meming myself, but it's between the art animation stuff and the video game writing stuff. There's just a lot of time on the interwebs.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you need random ass facts about nothing in particular, let me know.
So actually, I want to jump back to your art for just a second. You talked a little bit
Yeah.
how you got into it. How can people learn more about what you do or see your work?
Totally. I'm most active on Instagram. If you follow me at K_Silverland, spelled as it sounds. It's also linked if you follow my dance and gym account for the dancing and the gaming. But yeah, I post most of it there, including works in progress and sketches and stuff like that in my stories. I post some on Facebook under Silverland Art as well. And I do have a Patreon that I am currently revamping. My goal is to launch a webcomic this year based on some of, based on some of the D&D shenanigans. But as a part of that, I'm going back and reassessing what I'm using my Patreon for. So if you want to go give it a follow, again, Silverland Art is the thing to search for. Right now, I'm not taking any new patrons. I'm not charging anybody because I'm not posting anything while I'm figuring out content and plots and all that fun stuff. But yeah, keep an eye on that there because when Tales of a Cleric launches, that's where it's going to be.
Cool. I guess on the tie-in, could you talk to people that maybe aren't aware of how you've been relating your art to D&D?
Totally. Yeah. So I've been in a campaign the last 3 years now, I think. It's been a while. Yeah, we alternate. So Ross, who's my spouse and fellow instructor at Geek this year, runs one of our campaigns. The other is run by a mutual friend of ours in Chicago. But a lot of my art these days revolves around our D&D campaigns. So right now it's a lot of my Wood Elf Druid, Turiel, or Rhea, because we're back in Ross's campaign with #Team Trauma. Mostly in that we all have some dark, twisted backstory, save one character. But Tales of a Cleric is actually centered around, or will be centered around, my first full-blown D&D character, Adreessen, which is our other campaign, Umberto and the Introverts.
Sorry, say that one more time. It was
Umberto and the Introverts.
That's fantastic.
You need to ask Ross for the story of how we got that name because it all is around his fighter, ranger, now paladin, Umberto, and what he did in the first session. But because we've been in that campaign for so long, and Adreessen was sort of my first true D&D character, I've been wanting to put that story to comic form for a long time. And I've finally been spending enough time kind of doing more of the study work to get the anatomy right. I've been doing a lot of weaponry and armor studies in my free time. I've fallen down so many Wikipedia rabbit holes. Yeah. As you do. So that Tales of a Cleric is her story of how she ended up with Umberto and the Introverts, their adventures together in the land of Balewind, and the shenanigans that ensue because it's D&D and shit always goes wrong.
Precisely. Yeah. Especially people doing things that the DM wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
That's not where I thought y'all were gonna go with that. Fine. Frick.
It defo did that to our DM a couple weeks ago, actually, in that I used the banishment spell in a way he didn't expect. In that I banished the ally we were trying to save because it meant I pulled the ally out from under all the nasty little things that were trying to kill it.
Huh.
And then I dropped the spells. So like this big ass Kraken ally landed on a bunch of little nasties and then was able to fight for itself. And the look I got across the table.
Oh, how could you? My well-laid plan.
Yep. We'll always find a way to fuck it up, intentionally or otherwise.
Yeah. Reminds me of a friend, Connor, in college, who was notorious for like any loophole or like something that you had not specified in the campaign. If you didn't think about it, he was gonna find a way to make it work. He never got banned from our college campaigns, but he was always like the you know what, Connor, I'm not even going to check because you're probably right. Fine. Yes, you can do you can do the thing.
Yeah, admittedly I am not that player. It's mostly serendipity of like I went through my spell slots and went, oh, I have this prep today. But yeah, it's depending on the type of game you want to play. Can definitely make things interesting.
Cool. So let's work into dancing.
Yeah.
How did you get into dancing?
I started dancing for a guy I was dating at a high school. He was in the swing dance club that my high school had in Boulder, Colorado. And when I moved to Chicago, was college. And I joined the swing club here of like, oh, I'll finally learn how to dance with him. Turns out he was not great. Not a great human.
Yeah.
So I ditched him and kept the dancing. And here I am it'll be 10 years in September, so.
Oof.
Adventure.
Yeah. What would you say particularly got you latched on the blues? Or sorry, I guess actually let's back up. Was that blues when you started? Or you were saying that was swing or?
Yeah, it was swing. It ended up being swing and blues because we kind of did everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Because college clubs. But what really got me hooked on blues ultimately was a freedom of expression I couldn't find in Lindy Hop. And like Lindy Hop was fun. I am now too hurt to really do it frequently anymore. Blues is ultimately easier on my joints, but yeah, there is definitely like a freedom of expression and a freedom of exploration that as a young human in college like really appealed to me and really drew me in.
Yeah. So even with it drawing you in, it's not your full-time job, correct? So what do you end up doing for your day job?
I am currently a client analyst with a company called BSwift, which is a fancy way of saying I am a jack of all trades, dealing with clients who use our software to get their employees enrolled in healthcare. Mostly, I've got a varied background. Again, given my degree was in animation, that was originally my job goal. That being said, I have since realized that I like my art as a passion, not as a career. So I've got a background in like generally tech e-commerce. I worked for a telecommunications company for a hot second. So just kind of whatever to pay the bills. And right now, healthcare is the thing that is paying the bills.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you talked about joints for a moment, and I feel like I'm not the only one, but why are people always complimenting your leg strength? Oh, gotcha.
Um, because I'm constantly in physical therapy is the real answer. The short answer, the longer answer to that is I had knee surgery back in 2016. A fairly intense process. They rebuilt one of my tendons and moved where my patella tendon connects to my kneecap over, because my kneecap was dislocating anytime I pivoted or like did a hard stop and direction change. So coming off of that, it was a lot of rehab, it was a lot of stability training and stability work, which means a lot of squats and a lot of single leg squats and a lot of balancing and really working on my lower body and my core. So since then, especially now that I have access to a gym regularly with work and all of that, part of it is maintenance to make sure the injury doesn't come back, to make sure I'm still able to do all the things I want to do on my leg, even though I've got 2 titanium screws in my shin. The other part of it too is I just like squats. I like deadlifts. I like my back looks good, my butt looks great. Like, like I don't know. Yeah, so it's really mostly the PT and just like the stability training that has come with that, because it's let me continue to do the things I love, specifically dancing.
I was halfway joking, but like, particularly there's the choreo with you and Andy that's made plenty of rounds from Shout and on the internet. But like, I think if there's any like kind of snapshot from where you're rehabbing to where you got yourself to, like, that is like a bow down. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's another reason like it. I think a lot of people have seen that growth too, or that work. Hopefully they will say it, more actively, not just for like, oh yeah, I think they assume that I know. It's like, no. You should recognize like the work that's gone into to have the body where it can be at to execute those like high performance maneuvers.
Yeah. Do more squats. That is what I tell my classes. They don't believe me, but if you watch that choreo, that's literally Andy and I would just do squats. She used to give me so much crap when we were prepping for that performance because she just had to do squats.
All right. For those listening at home, let's see. Rossa said, suck it up and do it. Sarah saying more squats. I can guarantee you when we talk to Lainey, she's going to say more reps. So there's a very consistent theme happening here.
Team power.
Team cardio. Okay. Yep. Let's see. It's photo time. It's photo time. So first, let me make sure you can see what I see.
I have that Christmas Carol stuck in my head.
Oh gosh, sorry. I don't know why that came up of all. So we'll move over here. So first, who are you dancing with?
So that is my friend Grace Shalene.
Roomie?
Huh?
Roomie?
Yeah, former roomie.
And for those that probably can't see exactly at home, we'll post this photo, but the bottom of the shirt says hashtag team competing with Lokay.
Yep. So context for everyone at home. Last year at Shout, I competed as both a lead and a follow. As a follow, I competed in the All-Star with Joey Science out of Boston, who has been a longtime dance partner of mine. We used to train together when they lived here in Chicago. And then I led Grace here in the Open. But Grace is a screen printer full-time for her day job. And apparently she and Joey coordinated ahead of time to be like, hey, I can print these shirts for us. Like, hashtag team competing with Lokay because I was in both comps and Grace is a screen printer. So they surprised me with this. I did not know this was happening until Grace told me day of, and Joey showed up with the blue shirt with that hashtag on it.
That's even better. I didn't know that part. Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea until I think we hit prelims and Joey showed up and I was like, "You sons of bitches, I love you." But yeah, so that's the story between hashtag competing with Team Lokay, because we did both comps and they're great and I love Joey and Grace both a lot, and they're wonderful human beings.
Oh. It's getting really gross here. Ugh.
Have you met me? I'm just a font of love and affection for my friends.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull an audible. So roll with me here before we get into personal authenticity. What is something? What's a joy or what's like one thing, if you could name it, that you get out of solo dancing specifically?
Oh, that's a good question. What do you get out of solo dancing specifically? I think it goes back to that freedom of expression. In that, like, I love partner movement. I love partnering with humans to create a dance. But there's a freedom. Solo movement, it is just me I'm responsible for. My box is a little bigger insofar as what I can do, the choices I can make, because I'm the only one I have to be conscious of, so to speak. Rather than in partnership, like, there's a level of compromise that needs to happen to make a partnership function. So yeah, there is that freedom, that ability to express myself to the music in a way that feels genuine to me, is really important and is really validating and freeing for me. So yeah, that freedom of expression piece would be the thing I get out of that.
You talked a little bit about how that changes when you're in that description. You talked a little bit about how that changes when you're a follow. So I'm going to kind of give you like a two-pronged question. How does that? Here's a better way to say it. When we talk about personal authenticity, I'm kind of curious to see how you think about that as an instructor, as a follow, and or as a solo dancer, and also knowing that you lead, because you've got a couple different hats that you can put on that not everyone that I've talked to actively plays in. So I'm kind of curious, do those different hats change what that means to you, or just like, do you have like a bit? Actually, let me clean it up. Yeah, we talked about that. Do you have a general idea for personal authenticity for yourself, and or do those hats change it slightly for you?
Totally. I do have an overall concept. A lot of my personal life focus the last couple of years has been getting to know myself better, both as a human and as a dancer. And for, like, you and most of my friends know that I recently came out as genderqueer. Using they them pronouns, being under the non-binary umbrella. And that's been a part of that, and that's been a part of my dance journey as well. Because I find the way I like to move tends to be counterintuitive with what people expect out of an assigned female at birth human body. And like, there are definitely still some feminine aspects of my movement. That's how I learned. That's how I was socialized. But to sort of the team power point, I love high athletic movement. I love super challenging. I love pushing my physical limits. in a way that often comes off more traditionally masculine, for lack of a better term. So when it comes to, if we start at the top, we'll start with the instructor hat. The lens changes a little bit insofar as I want to enable my students to be able to move in a way that feels right for their bodies. Regardless of where they're at on their own journey, be it dance or personal, regardless of injury, regardless of shape, stature, size, whatever. Like the way I do a movement might not look the same on your body, on Ross's body, on an Adam or a Crystal or a Lainey. But we can still do those movements in a way that feel good to us. And I want to make sure my students get that out of my classes. Because at the end of the day, dancing as a whole is, you should be able to enjoy it. You should be able to have fun in it. And you should also be able to express yourself wherever you are at on that journey. And, you know, we want to honor the aesthetic and the history as well. But you got to figure out how to do that for yourself in your own body. And I want my students to walk away knowing that whatever shape that takes, so long as it feels good for them, that's good. That's right. And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Going down the list, as a follower, the same stuff applies. I do find that I tend to compromise my vision a little bit more because I am in partnership. And one of my favorite things about partner dancing is getting to craft something, to make something with another human being for 3 or 5 minutes or however long that is. And sometimes, like, I come in with a really strong vision and I'm like, nah, this is the thing. I'm really going to be dedicated to this. I'm going to figure out where it fits. And other times I come in and somebody else has this gorgeous vision. And I'm like, no, I really want to celebrate this thing with you. So allowing myself to be flexible, allowing my vision to be flexible, definitely comes into more prevalence as a follow. And it doesn't mean my ideas go away or my vision disappears. It's just becomes something new together, which I really love and I really enjoy because every time it's different, even dancing with the same people. And then going into being a solo moving human, solo dancing is sort of, excuse me, is sort of the purest form of that vision, especially off the competition floor. Because in those moments, it's dancing just me and the music, you know, or just like me and some friends in the music. And there is such a personal quality in that. And it's actually a way I tend to center myself as a human with anxiety. Sometimes crowds are overwhelming. And solo dancing is always sort of that touchstone that I can come back to. I can find myself in the music again, find how I like to move in the music, and I don't worry for a little while. Because like we're always aware of the people around us. We're human beings. We're afraid of being judged, right? Even if we do put ourselves out on the competition floor, like
the thoughts creep in there.
Yeah. So I try to treat my solo dance as a place where I can embody my vision, whatever shape that takes that day, where my body's at, where my head's at. So in regard to the leading piece, I'm still kind of exploring that. It's still kind of a new aspect for me because I suddenly feel more responsible than I do as a follow, which has been interesting.
Yeah.
Like as a follow, I have a role, I have a job, I have these things that I am responsible for, like maintaining connection, this, that, the other thing. Like we have, there's could go on forever about that. As a leader, just the focus is shifted enough because I am now the initiator. Like I am now leading. I have to make decisions, not just respond. And not that following is just pure response, but like there's just more to keep tabs on, or I feel my brain feels like there's more to keep tabs on. So I'm definitely at that stage where I'm still trying to learn the skills so I can apply my vision, rather than just like vision vomiting on my partner and hoping for the best, or like solo dancing holding hands. So I'm curious to see how that hat shapes up as I get more confident and get those skills that I'm starting to learn.
That was fantastic. I like, because I can speak on the lead piece a little bit more, or I guess I can think about when I relate to followers. I think we're both on the same page. Like, our vision doesn't come in like a piece of concrete that's like already set. Like, so that, because I think we can envision what that looks like, and that's not a very it's not a very interesting dance that I want to be a part of. And or if anyone's like, yeah, that's fun, I'm like, well, yeah, I whipped you through a bunch of things, but there's no talking, there's no conversation in that at all. Like, that actually took less effort for me, because I could just, and I wanted to put effort in. It's like, what's the point of me putting all this work in if I'm going to get to a stage where I give you a set concrete form where we don't get to have that conversation. Yeah, but it's still molding and shifting for you. So that's very, and I would even say, like, even having led for the majority of my partner dance career, like, it's still, like, even at this time, it's still like, I would say my baseline assumptions haven't like drastically shifted in that time, but they're still getting tweaks and like so on and so forth. Or occasionally someone comes along and throws a grenade in there every once in a while, and I'm like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things about maybe partner dancing in general, but also like blues specifically, because that is the style that I dance predominantly, is that you're always growing and you're always learning. And like, those grenades come in and your assumptions and your vision is going to change and you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Fine. Like, you can take the time you need to figure that out. But that's part of the joy, at least for me, is that constant, like, you're never going to know it all.
Precisely. Yeah. Speaking of not knowing it all, but we are constantly working on ourselves. So how do you work with this theme in your practice time, or as a competitor?
Yeah. Honestly, my go-to recently has been choreography the last couple of years. So the piece with Andy and I choreographed a piece with Ross and her partner, Courtney, dance partner, last year for Shout. I've got something in the works. I'm working on a piece right now with a friend of mine. TBD when we actually make the official announcement about that. But that for me has been super useful as a learning tool and as a practice tool, specifically because it gives me a song to work in and usually another human or set of humans to work with. And I can then drill into specifically hearing that song, learning the nuances, listening to it a lot, and figuring out how I interpret it. And in turn, like in building choreography with other people, hearing how other people hear the music and seeing how that helps us grow together. So that's to go back to the I'm a Woman piece that I did with Andy. Andy and I have a lot of similarities, being #Midwest is best. I'm just going to throw all the hashtags tonight.
Still feels.
We also moved there.
Talking to the Southeast. Sorry. Continue. Yeah.
I mean, you live in St. Louis. You're technically Midwest now.
Continue. I don't want to talk about it.
But working on that piece with Andy in particular, like we'd have the same movement ideas, but how we got there was very different. So working together, we ended up stealing pieces from each other of the route to get the movement, even if our movement ideas, like our brains were in the same place. So I actually learned a lot in doing that because somebody else's perspective helped me reevaluate my own. So that's when I'm not doing choreography. I do a lot of video trades with my peers. And again, that I am dancing myself, like, unless we have specified otherwise, a lot of times we've picked a genre or we've picked a song that we're trying to work on. And our goal is to do the things we like to do to that song, regardless of who we're working with. And video is super, super useful because you catch all the things and then you can go back and look at it and be like, that was fucking awesome. Or the fuck was that?
It's like, what was I thinking? Yeah.
The number of times I've fallen on video is not 0. It's fine. But that I think is a part of the authenticity, and especially with practice. In particular, is like I used to joke with Joey, like if we haven't fallen down at least once, is it really practice? Because Joey and I, our thing is like we make really weird shapes together. Don't know why. That's just how we've always danced together, and the number of times it led us to be on the floor, be it intentionally or otherwise, is many. But that risk taking, at least for me, feels very authentic. Because it means I'm pushing myself, because it means I'm pushing my dance. Sometimes it means my partner and I are pushing each other. Like, I work with Ross because we live together. He is my spouse. And the number of times I've accidentally clocked him in the face with an elbow is, again, not 0.
That's excellent.
Yep. Like,
is
these are
like plus or minus 20. That's all I needed to know.
No, those aren't the cuts that make it on the internet, right? Or that you see in comps, but that's all the work that goes into it behind the scenes. And I think sometimes we forget just how much work goes into this dance. Like the amount of work we do as individual dancers, the lesson planning and like the background research and stuff that goes into classes, or just the sheer amount of groundwork organizers have to do, finding instructors, finding DJs, getting venues, getting the schedule set up. And I don't think that's just the blues community. I think that's a wider social thing. But like all of this stuff just takes work. Yeah. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not always simple. Like sometimes some things come easy and that's great. Like, cool. But if you want to get super immersed in something, if you want to make it your own, if you want to make art, you gotta practice.
What? Okay, fine then. Keep your secrets.
Even like it's going back to the basics of like doing warm-ups and drawing lines and drawing shapes and then going and doing figure studies before you go and make the webcomic, or even just do the cover illustration. Like dance is the same way, blues is the same way. Like you gotta go get your fundamentals, practice that shit. Like Dan Legenthal at Backwater had us practice taking a step for like an hour and a half. That's all we did. I promise you my walking is better now though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That makes me think about there's and I've noticed it in blues as well, and I'll narrow it to competitions, but breakdance competitors that the move they hadn't perfected in practice was going to suddenly just be there when they needed it for the competition. And I think that's like some Rocky IV Mighty Ducks bullshit that like people are like, oh yeah, everything's just gonna come together, the flying V, and I'm gonna land the right hook. And I'm like, no, that's just no. It's like those movies get away with montages that allow that to happen, but there's an implied years of practice that allows that move to be there when they need it. If there's variation when they have it happen in a competition, like that may be where you get to play with it a little bit, but you get to play with it because you've got that like mastery over that thing now. You know, that thing that was kicking your butt, or like the elbows to the face and different things like that. It's like we went for all those growing pains so that you could have that control and do what you wanted with it in a comp or when the pressure's on. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Like you gotta learn the thing you're gonna throw before you throw it. Otherwise, you're gonna throw it and it's not gonna work.
Exactly. You may have already said it. So what would be one thing you want people to get out of the weekend, based off everything we just we gave them?
I think what I want people to walk away from is that it is okay to dance yourself. In that I recognize as a competitor and as an instructor, you tend to see a lot of the same folks, the same faces, the same body types, all the same skin color. The way we move tends to be fairly similar because, you know, we've learned from the same people, we've been practicing together, you know, there's been enough overlap and we know what has been expected of us, especially in a competition format. I think if I want anybody to walk out of my classes out of BluesGeek, it's that dancing yourself is good, is okay. Again, within sort of the wider context of blues aesthetic, honoring that first, because that should be your first priority if you were dancing blues. I guess that needed saying.
No,
but
this has been Lindy Geek, so they could.
Was a Lindy shout.
I set myself.
Yes, you did. Just
Dink.
but yeah, that even if you don't look like me, don't identify like me, don't move like able to do the movements in blues aesthetic in a way that feels good to your body, do that. Please do that and share that with people and like embrace that, because that's really important and really valuable. And I think especially to this theme of personal authenticity, that sounds authentic to you. And from a physical standpoint, do what makes your body feel good. Please don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my thing.
Precisely. Take it from two people that have gone for rehab, like patellar tendonitis. Trust us. Do what feels right. So we got two last things to wrap up with. One is a question and then one is a request. Yes, one is a request. Got it. So why is So Say We All the perfect way to close out a class? And if not, why am I wrong?
You're right. That is the best way to close out a class.
Yeah.
We have done that.
Cool.
Though I think you're going to have competition now with This Is the Way.
Battlestar is so much better than The Mandalorian. Okay.
Oh, yes. It is. Yeah. And if y'all at home haven't watched Battlestar yet, fix that before Geek, please. And you'll understand why we're having this conversation.
That really should have been one of the photos I pulled up. Is your photo of Ross and Adama.
Yeah. Yeah. You can throw that in a slideshow.
Yeah. Lastly, we're building a playlist of our staff's favorite blues songs or ones that you're really jamming on right now. Do you have one you can give us to add to the list, and why do you like it?
Really? What I'm jamming on right now is "I Left My Baby" by Count Basie. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Ross Blythe, for letting me sit in the office while he was shopping for music and played that one. And I was like, I like that. Can you send it to me? Yeah, I really, really love ballroom and blues as a genre. And like Basie has been a favorite artist of mine for a while. So that one came up, and I just love sort of the growth of it and the range that, especially as I've been practicing solo, I get to play with on that song. Because it starts out sort of so sparse and melancholy, and then has this big horn section at the end, and it just, the transition is so good. It's really delightful. Yeah, that's what I'm jamming on right now.
Excellent. As a reminder to everyone, that playlist is available on Spotify, and for any songs that are not available on Spotify, you'll definitely be able to see the link to where you can purchase or find that music. We do recommend purchasing, buying all of the music that we made available to you, but definitely the Spotify is a convenience thing for everyone. But you'll be able to see that on the Facebook page, on the ujimablues.org website when it launches in March. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. And we will see you all at Geek May 29th to the 31st. All right. See you all soon. Okay. Let me stop the record.